Most self-improvement is quietly hostile towards the self. So what if the self-improvement you've been obsessed with is actually just a socially acceptable way of hating yourself? We've been taught to grind, to fix, to optimize, but we never ask what we're actually running away from. So on this episode, we're going to challenge the most dangerous lies within the growth industry. We're exploring why your work ethic might just be unprocessed fear and why you don't actually need more discipline, you need more safety. This conversation is about the dark side of achievement and the radical shift towards finding peace. This episode is a direct challenge to the self-help industrial complex. Most self-improvement is quietly hostile towards the self. So I ask you, Will, if you woke up tomorrow and you were already perfect, like that's a thing, but you woke up and you were already perfect. No flaws, no goals, no one to impress. Would you know what to do with your day? Or would the silence terrify you?
That last bit with the silence terrify you is such an interesting twist. Obviously, the first thoughts are, yeah, I'd love to wake up and be perfect. And then it's like, okay, but what am I actually going to fill my time with now? I've got nothing. I've got no goals to work towards. I've got no, I'm probably socially fulfilled. Like, what do I do?
It's also, how do you define perfection as well? Because everyone would define that so differently as well. Perfection would be so nuanced, and would you know you've achieved it when you have it? I don't know if I would know that I've achieved perfection.
No, well, I would say actually maybe the whole idea of perfection is fundamentally flawed because it's posed as if it's a destination or a final point, and it's not. I reckon perfection is just continuously doing fulfilling activities.
Much the same as happiness is not a final point. It's just the emotion you feel.
That's it.
So why do we strive for perfection then? If it's something we've been taught as like completion almost.
I think that is the perfection. I think when you are working towards something and you enjoy every step of the process, or 9 out of 10 steps of the process, that is as perfect as anything gets. It's like you are doing the thing that you love on a consistent basis. It doesn't zap any of your energy. You're able to live a fulfilled life outside of that goal because you feel fulfilled. So you have the energy to go and socialize. You have the energy to do the self-work.
So pursuit of perfection itself is perfect.
I would say so.
Nice. Cool way to start. But doesn't deflect the question.
Does the silence afterwards, if you achieve perfection, this final destination that we could argue until the cows come home, moo.
Okay.
Moving on. If you get to that point, would the silence crush you? And I think it would for a period of time, but I think it's in human nature to be like, okay, now I need to get up and do something, you know? I see it as...
But if you've got no goals to move towards, how would that perfection version of yourself then define the way to move forwards?
I guess you just do the activities you enjoy doing for the sake of doing them. Like, for example, I would take up surfing. I would do that because I think I would enjoy it. Or I would play tennis because I enjoy it. I would just play guitar because I enjoy it. It's not about any goals or accolades you achieve from doing it. It's purely the satisfaction of doing it.
So you suggest people would fall back onto hobbies?
I think so. Or like, I know I gave very clearly defined hobbies there, but it could easily just be things that you enjoy doing your time doing. So could be playing Monopoly with your girlfriend on an evening. That's something I do at the moment. It could be hanging out with friends, just going to coffee shops. It's not necessarily a outlined hobby that you're told in school, oh, there's the after school coffee club. It's like, no. But
what middle class school has that? Maybe upper class, maybe in Cambridge, the after school coffee club.
The afternoon tea. But it can be anything you enjoy, I think. I think that's probably what you'd end up filling your time with. If you've achieved perfection, like you're not chasing anything monetarily, you're not chasing anything socially, you're not chasing it. You purely just do it for the satisfaction of doing it.
Okay, so the question is then, why does silence terrify people? Because if we're looking at this perfect ineffability as an achievable goal in this metaphor, which we've already said it isn't, but in this metaphor it is, and you're filling your time with endeavors that aren't attached to your sense of self, and you just do them purely for the sake of enjoyment in that present moment, why would the silence terrify people? Is it because it's going to remove all distractions, confronting with a real brute force all internal thoughts, anxieties, and insecurities? That's my thought.
Yeah.
Because our modern world is inherently noisy. Inherently noisy. There's so many distractions. There's so many unnatural ways to live life. Like we weren't meant to live with the severe amount of distractions we can fill our time with on a day-to-day to give us immediate gratification. We weren't meant for immediate gratification. So there's so many triggers and primal alarms in there, social unease, overthinking, that removing that is going to create this eerie sense of silence, which is going to confront you with the sense of self, which for someone that maybe lives an inherently busy lifestyle is going to find something like meditation extremely uncomfortable. Because it acts as an echo chamber, really.
Yeah.
That silence is going to be an echo chamber for your self-doubt, your insecurities, your past traumas. Yeah, all the things you can avoid and push to the side. Yeah, it's just gonna be there. You're not gonna hide from it anymore.
I think you'd be like the dog that needs a walk.
Before Will raises his perfectly valid points, let me tell you about Huel. You can get money off Huel, which is a meal replacement drink. If you need to get more protein or nutrients into your diet, check the link below. You get money off, like I said, and then that way you're able to get a nutritionally complete meal into your daily life. You're welcome.
I think you'd be like the dog that needs a walk.
Okay.
Dogs, more intelligent dogs, or more excitable dogs, need a walk or two a day.
Stimulation.
Yeah. Humans are quite intelligent when compared to other animals.
Some humans.
Some humans. Some barely evolved past the dolphin. You need constant stimulation / something to keep your brain active so that you don't fall into a deep depression. You're going to feel very... what's the word? Unutilitarian. You won't have any utility. You won't be bringing anything to the table with the people in your lives. So, you just sit at home? But then maybe we have to circle back to perfection, and we have to be like, well, maybe perfect actually wouldn't look too dissimilar to your current life. Maybe perfection, if we say, is working towards the goal, then maybe it's you'll just wake up and everything's exactly the same as normal because you actually quite like having the thing to strive towards. So many people want to achieve a certain status, but wouldn't know, like, they don't have a plan for after they achieve that. Like, I didn't have one after I hit 100k subs. It's like you get there and you're like, oh, cool, everything will be okay now, and you get there and it's not okay now. It's like, what do I do? What do I do with my time? How do I fill it? What do I choose to value now over anything else? So there'd be a whole crisis of character. Be who am I without my goals, almost. So then it would come back to what are your values, which we talk about a lot. We say values, we say morality, we say ethics, we say, just fundamentally what satisfies you. And that deep silence maybe would be the instigator for people to start spending time doing the things that satisfy them and thinking, actually, okay, all my life I've lived as the person who plays tennis, who does music, who makes YouTube videos and works like crazy. If that's all taken away from me and there was no expectation of anybody around me, what would I fill my time with? And that would probably be what people end up doing. The alternative is you just sit at home and get depressed. It's like it's not a long answer because there's nothing to do.
But I suppose the depression could come from because there's nothing to do, but depression could come from the not wanting to sit with oneself and then hearing the uncomfortable truth that the silence allows. So we're going to talk about why most self-improvement is quietly hostile towards the self, because the self-help industry often implies you're not enough yet. It's that yet part. So it's not loud. It's not like you're not enough. You need to do better. It's like, oh, you work and you're not enough yet. So it's quietly hostile. Fix this, optimize that, heal a little bit faster. You can become more. You can do that. It exposes growth culture can reinforce shame under the skies of empowerment. It says who you are right now is not acceptable. So growth can become correction, not care. And what we need to do is teeter self-improvement towards care and not necessarily correction. Does that make sense? So we've been believed to condition that to get better, we have to hate who we are right now. Or rather, it's been in some dialogues that this is a helpful way to grow. But if your self-improvement is just a polite way of saying, I'm not enough, you aren't growing, you're just gaslighting yourself.
Couldn't put it better myself. You just need to be. I think self-improvement is always positioned, as you say, as a destination, and you're not there yet. It's like, I think you're always setting people up to fail. It's like, or setting yourself up to earn a lot of business, keep selling your self-improvement stuff, because I don't think anybody ever feels like they are, quote unquote, enough. There's always a longing to fit into the next friendship group or know exactly what you want out of life, or find the partner of your dreams, or achieve a certain thing in sport. And if you got injured and were never able to do that, it's like coming to terms with that. Maybe you never will come to terms with the fact that you got injured and you didn't get the NFL contract.
That guy that's like, I would have gone pro if it wasn't for my shoulder.
Yeah. The Rock.
Me. What?
Too short. My new Tyreek Hill. He's doing great these days. I think it's really interesting when you try and put end destinations on things that don't have end destinations.
But the issue comes from the fixer mindset, doesn't it? So we treat ourselves like a broken appliance rather than a living organism. We can think of ourselves as quite black and white, black and grey. It's easy to understand, like we're one or the other, when in reality we are a living organism that is weird, got chaos going on and all of our unique insecurities. It's just a case of trying to organize that without abandoning yourself and trying to move towards self-rejection, trying to keep yourself rooted in care. So improvement can come from curiosity or from shame. One is going to expand you, the other is going to fracture you. So if we're looking at coming from curiosity, what would be some healthy conversations you think one would have with themselves? You'd probably be asking a lot more open questions of why is this something I'm struggling with? How can I understand this? You're going to be looking with maybe little kinder eyes, and the words you're going to be using are more inviting for change. How can I make this better? What is it from this I would like to improve? Why am I looking to improve this? What do I feel like I could be if I wasn't struggling from X? Maybe the rejection, the shame is the why aren't you good enough? Why can't you look a certain way? It's that internal dialogue which is negative, which is harsh, which is hostile towards the self. So when did growth become self-surveillance? Yeah. So growth at some point would likely have become self-surveillance, but is it self-surveillance because it's with the best intentions in the heart? Or is it self-surveillance because we are going to demand this ineffability of perfection?
Maybe it's judging yourself as if you were seeing you through the eyes of somebody that you admire. For example, would I judge what I do on a day-to-day basis if I put myself inside the head of Alex Hormozy? Would I be looking at everything I'm doing and going, no, you're not doing that right. Oh, if I was there, I'd be able to help, like, fix, do this, do this, do this. And it's like you're in your head, you're thinking, oh, well, if somebody else could just do it, why can't I do it? And you're judging yourself through the eyes of someone. I think we spoke before about the internal voice. Who do you have in your head throughout your life that sort of you constantly have there? And what we've realized is it's probably not that person. It's your own voice through that person's face, if you like. Or it's your own thoughts through that person's voice. And that's probably where a lot of the judgment on what you're doing comes from.
Yeah, maybe you are projecting. You're using outside stimulus to project some inside insecurities, and then you're looking at them under a microscope of judgment rather than a microscope of care. So suppose it's self-criticism can feel productive as well, because that harshness, that raw emotion can feel like urgency. The person that looks at themselves in the mirror and goes, oh, I hate my body. They're likely going to feel some degree of urgency to go to the gym, to stop eating. It's that self-criticism is going to feel productive. It's going to feel like some sort of fuel. And that urgency is going to create movement. But the movement that's born from that hostility, that self-hate, isn't sustainable. It's coerced. And if anything, it's then going to burn out, and you're going to find that you're running on negativity, and it'll likely seep into other avenues of your life as well, your interactions with other people, the communication you use with other people. If you've got a extremely negative view on your body and the words you use towards yourself are negative, you might then find that the words used towards someone else are not necessarily negative, but they've got connotations like, oh, I can eat like that, you should really get yourself in the gym. Do you feel okay just doing that? The words you're going to use are going to start imprinting on other people, and you're going to become quite a negative, cruel person because it's going to seep in, and what maybe started as a kind-hearted thought of I would love to get in better shape is then seeping into just negativity. So growth culture replaces external pressure with internal surveillance. Really. No boss needed, no authority required. You become both the taskmaster and the exhausted worker. So if your ideal self requires you to suppress your current needs, is that growth? Or is it just a high functioning form of self-abandonment?
It's funny, when you were talking there, I was thinking just before you said it, we micromanage ourselves to the point where we'd never micromanage anybody else.
No.
It's casting that judgment. So to your question here, remind me
So if your ideal self needs to suppress current emotions or current needs, is that growth, or is that high functioning form of self-abandonment when it comes to change?
Yeah, you're doing things that you don't want to be doing. Therefore, you are abandoning yourself. You're doing things that feel like a step away rather than a step towards, whatever the goal is. And the goal, probably in this case, is some sort of self-acceptance. Trying to identify why you're doing it, and I mean, maybe not even why, because we've said many times before that sometimes you don't need to know the reason why. It's acknowledging the fact that you're doing it and working on sort of just being okay with the things you were doing. Are they fundamentally fulfilling? And if they're not fundamentally fulfilling, then they're probably abandoning the other version of you on another timeline where you would be doing something else.
So how do you define what's fulfilling? I suppose it's that pursuit of not necessarily more, but if something is fulfilling, you're working towards an end goal that is positive, and you don't mind showing up every day and doing the hard work and the graft day after day.
What actively excites you to perform the activities to get there? So, but when we tie this back to growth, which was the key part of that question, is if you're doing activities to grow that aren't, necessarily what you want to be doing? Are you abandoning yourself? And I think it depends for how long you do it and how far away it is from what you want to be doing. So for me to spend an extra day editing on a video, I might not want to do that extra day editing. However, I can see that that's only one day that I'll be doing something I don't want to do. Maybe there's other things I want to do. I want to hang out with friends, or I want to work on a different video style, or do podcasting rather than Will Taylor stuff. I will accept that as a step away, but know where it all fits into the bigger picture. I think maybe where it becomes blurry is when you are working on something where you can't see how it fits in with that final goal. So it is growth because you're doing something, and every time you do something, you are learning. It's getting more reps in. Whether it feels like I learned some new information today, or if it's just through the act of doing it, you become more efficient, or whatever it is. When you don't know what you're striving towards, it's very difficult for you to identify if it doesn't light you up. It's quite easy to identify that it's not for you.
So I suppose then that self-development that doesn't light you up could be quietly hostile.
Well, you're going to judge it all the time, and you're not going to think it's going to work. You're going to have more negative self-talk because you're going to be like, oh, why are you doing this? You can't see the end goal. Like, when you first started doing this, you had these plans, and this doesn't even fit into that. Like, why are you doing it now? Like, you should just quit. And it's at that moment, I think, where you have to make the decision on, should I listen to that voice, or is that voice fundamentally flawed? Is that the voice I actually need to let go of?
Yeah, it's going to be inviting a lot of internal questions to try and work out what's right and what's wrong for you. I suppose as well, you've got to ask whether you are looking for external, or whether you're trying to behave to the external standard. What I mean by that is there's definitely ways that people expect people to react or to grow or to develop. And are we ignoring what our body is secretly trying to tell us? We talk a lot about the nervous system and regulation. Are we ignoring the tiredness, the anxiety, the hunger, the fatigue at the cost? Well, are we ignoring all the cost of our nervous system towards feeling like we're working towards something more? But is that our external standard we're trying to chase, or is that internal metric we're trying to work out? So whether the self-improvement is quietly hostile towards the self or not, I suppose, is entirely shaped and on compass, using a compass that is used by your internal monologues. You'd have to be very much aligned in what you want to achieve and understand how you want to get there, and not abandon yourself on the sense of that development. So I've got a few questions I am curious of. I wrote these down when we were planning. Can growth last or exist without self-criticism? And this is something I'd love to discuss because it's something I think is really curious. So can growth, personal development, exist without self-criticism?
I think the self-criticism is like the barriers to exit of that negative self-talk. So it's you criticize yourself for doing all the work. It's not working. I'm not seeing any progress. That is your body saying, we're about to let go of something here. Are we sure we want to let go of it? And maybe there's 3 weeks of that. It's the 3 different barriers that it's got to get through to finally leave your body, that self-criticism, that acknowledgement of the work. Maybe that's got to go just so you can acknowledge what the real problem is. As I say, you're always harsher on yourself than you would be on others. And because we're talking about personal development and self-development, I instantly position it as a very internal struggle. But maybe taking that self-criticism and talking to a friend about it at the point of that, then maybe they could help you through it and help.
So for me, when I was thinking about this, self-criticism feels like it might actually cause more issues, because self-criticism is more of a dialogue of, I always mess up, I'm a failure, I'm not good enough, you deserve this. It's a harsh, judgmental inner dialogue. And I don't believe that self-criticism has a correct place within healthy growth. When I thought about this, I was thinking about, well, what does? And I think it's self-evaluation, because it's trying to have an objective and compassionate, equal sides, objective and compassionate approach to behaviors, mistakes, noticing patterns, focused on the solutions. Because the I always mess up, I'm always a failure, that doesn't invite solutions. That doesn't invite problem solving. It doesn't invite learning. Whereas asking questions like, what triggered this response? What might work better next time? What can I learn from this? Is significantly better than what's wrong with me. So can growth exist without self-criticism? I think yes. It definitely can. I think it might even hinder self-development. Those were my thoughts, man. So I suppose people need to ask, is improvement coming from curiosity or self-rejection? Are there parts of me that I'd want to reject and that's why I feel like I need to develop? Or is it coming from a genuine curiosity?
Do you think self-criticism is instigated by you and your active thoughts? Or do you think it's an excretion of you doing the work?
I can think it can be both, and I might even go further to say, on terms of the internal monologue that you mentioned, I think there's also a part to be said of external standards based on what the issue that someone is experiencing or self-criticism that they are engaged in. But I definitely think there is a part to be played on both sides, because you might get somewhat self-critical as you go into this personal development. But again, I don't think that would be necessarily positive fuel to be using. I think that's negative fuel, which doesn't inspire positive change. So that's what I'd say about point number one. But then point number two is, I think, internal and external definitely have a part to play when it comes into self-criticism. Do you have any thoughts on that?
No, I was curious because I thought about it straight away as almost as an excretion of the process. So it's like the more you shine a light on something, the more of it you're going to see, and then you're going to have more things to self-judge.
But I suppose it's whether you are leaning towards self-criticism or the self-awareness, because you can have self-awareness of something without judging it.
Yeah.
So it's encouraging moving over to the sustainable side of self-awareness rather than the self-violent side of self-criticism. So I suppose questions: would I pursue growth if I already felt worthy? Is my self-talk supportive or threatening? Growth that begins with rejection ends in exhaustion. It's not a positive, consistent fuel. But if most self-improvement is rooted in a dislike of who we are currently, we are essentially living in a state of internal war. Can a person ever grow while they feel under attack by their own mind? Or is the safety the missing ingredient that makes the discipline unnecessary? So if someone's living in internal war effectively, can a person ever actually grow while they feel under attack by their own mind? Or is safety the missing ingredient that makes discipline unnecessary?
I think it's important to say first, it's definitely worth addressing. If you've got negative self-talk and so what was the context again? It was
So if most self-improvement is rooted in a dislike of who we currently are, so that's the assumption, is if most self-improvement is rooted in a dislike of who we are currently, then it's essentially a state of war internally. So can we ever grow when we feel attacked by our own mind?
Yeah, my immediate is no, I don't think we can. I think we have to be, to put yourself through it, you have to be open to it. I don't think you can go into self-development, personal development, without sort of wanting to do it, number one, and it actually be worthwhile doing. I think then once you've been to week one, or you've been through week one of this personal development journey, those doubts and that self-criticism will creep in. And you've got to identify it and acknowledge it as a thing, address it, and be like, okay, this is happening. This is like, let's just call it how we see it. This is happening. What does this really mean? Does this mean that I no longer think personal development is worth doing? Does this show actually that I'm healed? Well, probably not. Again, healed, using the word advisedly. Identifying it, and maybe even just calling it as you see it is the thing that stops that internal war. It's calling out the elephant in the room. It's saying, look, we've got two conflicting ideas and we're trying to operate through life and try and improve at the same time. It's like, you can't really do that, because for every action is an equal and opposite reaction. Like, if you start to do loads of self-improvement, there's going to be some sort of negative thing that comes in. So it's, which one do you want more? Are you going to let the self-criticism tamper the self-development, or are you going to let the self-development have its chance and say, okay, but what happens if I just stick with it anyway?
Yeah, okay. I hear what you're saying. So if someone's in an internal war, their nervous system's going to feel like it's under a threat. But if there's a threat that's being perceived, you can't grow in that environment. You're only going to learn how to survive. That's what I'm hearing. I might be wrong. But we're moving on here in terms of like finding safety. So if we scream at ourselves for lacking willpower, but the truth is normally simpler, your brain doesn't feel safe enough to change. Sometimes that willpower can't get moving. That engine can't start because you don't feel safe. You don't have the right wheels or chassis on the vehicle. So let's look at why the psychological safety is the engine that the discipline is trying to jumpstart. So the discipline is trying to get you going, but we need that safety to be able to allow the fuel to drive.
How would you say somebody feels safe enough?
Feels safe enough to learn to grow? That's a really good question.
It's a tough one, isn't it?
So how would someone feel safe enough to feel like they are encouraged to grow? So I suppose we'd need to understand what makes that person feel unsafe. I don't like the word triggered, but if that's the word you want to use, then use it. But what makes that person feel unsafe? Identifying those issues and seeking to fix them. I think it's almost going to have to be a simultaneous approach. So you'd have to find what makes you feel unsafe, but you'd also have to find ways to cultivate safety while you work through these issues. So cultivating safety can be cultivating space, like allowing friends and family into your complexities to help them support you so you feel like you have someone as a support network when you need them. Cultivating space is finding meditative times in your day, limiting distractions, so stopping scrolling, stop binging Netflix, stop safety eating. Find ways that you can create safety so when you need to use that discipline, it's got a solid foundation. So it almost has to be a two-pronged approach. It's a difficult question to answer, but that's where I lie on that.
No, it's really interesting. You said what I was thinking, which is nice because it reaffirms sort of my doubt in saying it, which is bringing others into it. It's like, just because we call it personal development or self-development doesn't mean it has to be done individually.
It's not isolated development, is it?
No.
We've spoken in another episode about the importance of tribes growth tribes almost.
Yeah. Bringing others in on the journey with you, letting them know where you're at, share it. A problem shared is a problem halved. That mentality going into anything that's going to be psychologically uncomfortable is going to help you through it. And you don't even necessarily need to know what the outcome of those conversations would be. It's just having those conversations alone makes you feel like you're not alone in it.
Yeah, I like that. It's true. You need to find a way to be able to reach out to others when you are feeling like you're struggling. So that would help you feel an immense degree of safety, but I suppose you don't need more discipline, you need more safety. I suppose why that's controversial is because we're told effort is the way out, discipline is the way forwards. And don't get me wrong, it is important. It's a huge part to be played, and disciplined people always achieve more than those that have a severe lack. Absolutely. But effort isn't always the solution. Discipline isn't always the solution. Safety is. The regulation of your nervous system is. People try and force themselves forwards when their nervous system is still braced for a threat. If you've gone through severe trauma, whether that's like through personal relationships or whether you're in like a natural disaster. I know someone that was in a natural disaster, and it took them a good few years of therapy to be able to get through it. And sometimes no matter how much they tried to just be disciplined enough to handle certain issues, it's like their body was still bracing because it was still stuck in that fight or flight. So you need to ask, what does safety feel like for you, and how does safety feel in the body? Which gets a very hippie answer, but how does safety feel in the body? So do you ever find yourself stuck, unable to start a project even though you have the discipline to do it? Sometimes we call it procrastination, but what if it is, again, that freeze response from the body telling us we need to work on something else? Sometimes trying harder makes the resistance stronger. So if the body perceives your goals as a threat to your current safety, why would it ever let you achieve them? Is your lack of discipline actually your brain's way of protecting you from a success it thinks you can't handle?
Could be. Or maybe fundamentally you don't feel like you deserve success, which is even crazier. Because if you're on a trajectory to get success, the only thing that's going to stop you is you.
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes you don't need a whip, you need a sanctuary. You don't need to work harder, you can keep going. You need just a place that you can be safe and regulate and just be at peace with yourself. So you can't force calm, really, can you? You can't force focus or consistency when you're feeling like you're in a threat, How many people have had it where, like, they've been perceived they're in a dangerous environment and their heart rate spikes and their body gets ready to fight or flight, and then someone's going to ask you a math question. You'd be like, what? Fuck off. No, what? Your body wouldn't be ready for it. Your mind wouldn't be ready for it. I don't know, it's a weird analogy, but I went for it. You liked it, I could tell.
Yeah, that's good.
So what's the difference between structure and safety? Because if we're talking about building a sanctuary, we need safety. So is there a difference between structure and safety?
Structure in terms of?
Routines, organization.
So humans inherently like routines because they know what's coming. So there is a sense of safety within a structure in that sense. The question was, should you have structures and safety?
If you want to take it that way, I would post it as what's the difference between, but if you...
Right, okay, so I would say the difference maybe is the routine is like the catalyst for safety, where safety is the feeling you get from participating in. You can have routine and still not feel safe. For example, if you have the routine of walking through the dangerous part of town at night, there's going to be no safety in that, physical or psychologically feeling safe. Whereas a routine, sort of, I'm going to wake up at this time, I'm going to get my daylight in the morning, I'm going to do my 10-minute meditation, I'm then going to sit down and work on the projects that I already have planned, and I know when I'm going to do them, how long I'm going to do them for. I then have time scheduled at the end of the day to hang out with friends. That's going to feel a lot more safe.
No, I like that. I suppose when I think about structure and safety, as I think exactly what you said, structure can help build a nice environment to create safety, but it isn't inherently safe. So you've got to cultivate your safety. You've got to find ways to embrace that. Structure, I think, is relevant, absolutely, but it's not the same. I suppose good ways to think about this is, like a tangible thought is, say you're sitting down at your desk and you're having just a hard day and you tell yourself, just get on with it. Come on, just do the work. You know, it's what's stopping you from taking that one next step. So you need to look, okay, so what could I do to make myself feel more grounded? Do I need to clean a desk? Do I need to make the workload slightly lower? Do I just need a glass of water? Do I need 5 minutes in nature? You know, what is it that could help me just feel like this is slightly more manageable? So that's leaning towards safety and away from that discipline, you know, because, yeah, discipline makes you get the work done, but the safety regulates you, and you're likely to be more productive in the long term once you've got that regulation. So when the nervous system or the threat system goes offline, discipline becomes effortless because you aren't fighting your own biology to get the work done. So I suppose all of this here, if you think, it gives permission to stop blaming themselves, gives permission for people to stop blaming themselves and start listening to their bodies, you know, and really get in tune of what their body's actually trying to tell them, you know. I think an interesting question as well. Am I disciplined enough to get myself out of a state that requires care? Because then it's a double header, isn't it? You know, have I got the discipline to implement care in my life? Do you think you've got the discipline to implement care in your life, Will? Or do you think you've just got sheer discipline and determination?
I've just got sheer discipline. I can't look after myself. I'm very bad at it. It's something I'm working on. I hate it when people say they're working on stuff. It's like, you might as well just say you're not doing anything.
Do you really think that?
Yeah.
I disagree. I think people can be working on stuff.
Have you got a job? No, I'm working on it.
Well, yeah, in that context, yeah.
Have you got self-care? No, I'm working on it. Are you? No, I'm actually letting you lead by example. Like when we're doing these podcasts, I'm, thinking about, okay, well, lunch breaks now are a thing.
I know, yeah, we had like 40 minutes today.
Wild. So irresponsible.
Unbelievable. Imagine 40 minutes to let your body rest, let your food digest, for your mind to have a break. Unbelievable.
Yeah, I really switched off.
I mean, it allowed your brain to not be on the project at hand, which in my mind is switching off.
Is it? Oh,
Yeah.
okay. I'm always switched off then, because I'm never thinking about what I'm doing.
Well, you should be. Switch on. Oh my God.
I'm on now. Self-care. No, but yeah, so I am working on it. It's things like I watched the Chris Williamson and Diary of a CEO podcast. They were like, what should you do? What are the lowest effort activities for the highest possible reward? And things like charging your phone outside your bedroom. It meant I got to sleep earlier than I would have, like maybe 2 hours earlier, which is a lot.
Huge for you.
I then
Probably well rested today. Too rested.
You'd think, but
Yeah, your sleep debt's like 10 years.
I woke up 4 times throughout the night because I just I didn't know what time it was at all. And my brain was like, should you be awake? Did your alarm go off?
Did you check your phone in the middle of the night?
No.
Okay, good.
But I do, if my phone is there, I'm in the habit of waiting for my alarm on my phone to go off, and I had to set my alarm on my Google Nest. And I wasn't confident that it would actually go off because there's no physical thing to see. Yep, alarm is definitely set. So I probably would have woken up, checked my alarm, and be like, yeah, it's on, but can't do that without your phone. So my phone was off in a different room on charge. Like, I can't check that. So there was it was unstable. But what it does mean is over time I'll become more adapted to this new style of going to sleep, and then I'll be able to wake. And then I woke up and I went for a walk in the outdoors, and like I saw the sky, I saw the sunrise, which I've not seen in years.
It's not even early now. This is the worst part, dude.
Yeah, no, I don't wake up till 8, and then I don't get out of bed until 9, half 9, and then I
You lay in bed for that long.
It's bad. Like I work, but I work from my phone. I respond to comments. I check the analytics. I input how much I've made. I have a look at my investment portfolio. I have a look at my bank to check how much is in there. I'm doing work like admin. I respond to emails.
Nah, I couldn't live like that. My alarm goes off, I'm up.
But that's, if you like, my admin portion of the day, or it was. So I'm happy I've removed it because I hate admin. It sucks.
I don't know if that's the lesson I want you to learn, but I'm proud of you for getting up and going for a walk.
No, it was good. I didn't check my phone until like 10, maybe 10:15. No, because I was on it when you arrived. So maybe 10:45.
Yeah. Nice, man.
Crazy. But when I say I'm working on my self-care and my self-development, that's what I mean. Yeah. It's like doing those small things that are low effort but high return.
You're actively engaging in experiences and practices that will benefit your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nice.
What about you? Are you prioritizing self-care in your life?
I am, more so now.
Care to share?
I've always been trying to implement it as much as possible, but there's times where I get extremely overwhelmed or I get extremely busy, and yeah, I employ more discipline than I do safety, and then I work too hard and then I burn out. But I'm trying to listen to my body when I can and can't do things, and trying to relax some internal monologues I have around certain issues that I struggle with, and yeah, it's been beneficial. But it's just one step at a time, you know? If we only feel safe, air quotes safe, when we are producing or achieving, sounds like you. If we only feel safe when we're producing or achieving, does that mean our work ethic isn't a virtue, but a frantic attempt to outrun a fear we haven't named yet?
Yep.
Okay. Is that because you felt so attacked by this one, you're just not going to...
No, so I think while you said that, I figured out what my fear is that I'm running away from when I'm producing and working.
Okay.
I'm terrified of being lazy. Mm-hmm. And I know that my natural pull is to not do anything. Like I will do the bare minimum to just get by, just to get through life. And that's one of the things that I'm running away from when I'm working, is I'm thinking, well, what would somebody who's not lazy be doing right now? And then I stack that with, what would somebody who's not lazy achieve? And then it's like, whoa, so I could get all this stuff that I've always dreamed of and get like status, get sort of materialistic things, or have the ability to get them. And the only gap between me and that is how not lazy I am. Therefore, work ethic is the only answer.
Well, I'm going to counter that with something Bill Gates said. I'll always choose a lazy person to do a difficult job because a lazy person will find an easy way to do it.
Yeah, that's true.
So maybe this is how you've approached life, is you naturally lean towards maybe being slightly lazy. So like, how can I gamify life? How can I achieve the most amount I can with the minimal barrier to entry?
I do always try and find the most efficient way of doing something. Mm. And I've definitely been through phases previously where I've cut corners.
So are you a high achiever or are you just a high functioning avoider?
A high functioning avoider for sure. Like
I think you meant to think about that for a little bit, Will, but that's fine.
I know, I've thought about this. If there is washing up to do, I will work 16 hours that day. If there's no washing up to do, I'll probably work a little bit because I know it's okay for me to not work. Like if I'm really busy, it's easy for me to justify to my girlfriend why I didn't do the washing up. But if I've done nothing, I can't justify it.
So do you think your work ethic might be unprocessed fear? So not all ambition is aspiration. Some of it is fear with a strong resume.
Yeah, absolutely. I've always, like, you're always running away from the negative. You're always running away from something. I don't think you're ever working purely towards something because no sane person would.
Yeah. Are you running towards a dream or running away from a nightmare? I suppose most people's answers, if they really thought about it, is both. You know, yeah, of course I'm running towards a dream. That's what I tell myself I'm running towards. That's what I'm going to tell you I'm running towards. It's because that's a virtue signal, right? I'm going to tell you how great I am because I'm running towards this amazing dream. You're going to validate that dream so I feel heard, so I feel seen, so I feel like my life is worth it. But in reality, this unprocessed trauma is there, and that's what I'm running away from because I don't want to feel this. I don't want to acknowledge it. I don't want to even pretend it's there. So I'm just going to use it as motivation.
Yeah.
So we wear our 80-hour work week like a badge of honor. But psychologists suggest that many high achievers are actually fleeing from a sense of worthlessness. Today we're looking at a hard question, man, which is your drive an asset or a symptom? Will, have you ever noticed that if you have a day of nothing to do, you start to feel anxious or even depressed? And if so, why is doing nothing so scary for you?
Yeah, my gap from anxious and depressed to finding work to do is like seconds. I can't sit and do nothing. I hate it.
I want to take you. I know this is something we're going to talk about, like work ethic and unprocessed fear, and we'll dive into it both. Well, we won't do it as much for you, but we'll do it for Gem Pop. But I want to take you to a psychologist, to a psychiatrist, and get you to be looked at for why, because it's ridiculous sometimes. You can't turn your brain. We were at the gym yesterday doing heavy squats. I had 130 kg lined up. I barely weigh over 60, and I'm there psyching myself up, and you're like, so what can we sell? I'm like, what?
Yeah. No, I'm just locked in on that stuff. Like, you can't turn off my brain on that stuff. It's who I am fundamentally. Like, I've always known I'm going to be doing something that's going to benefit people around me, and I'm going to be the instigator of it. I'm not going to be the process of the thing.
So let's maybe talk a little bit more general and maybe use your insights as someone that can identify. How can someone that maybe identifies similar to you or is a workaholic or whatever you want to call it, how can they identify if their busyness is a form of emotional anesthetic?
I think just general honesty with yourself. Like, I think if you're working a lot, when you're working is when you're at peace, if you like, because that's when you know you're doing this, like, you don't have to worry about anything else. So it's actually almost a form of meditation in itself, thinking on the thing. Like, quite often your work becomes quite routine. Like with me editing a video, I can think about anything when I'm editing. I just do it second nature. It's muscle memory, essentially, with the keyboard. Think about things in your life that might be pushing you towards it without dismissing it straight away. So the tendency, for me at least, when I've been doing it is, no, I'm fine. I just love working. It's like, okay, why do you love working? What aren't you doing right now because you're working? And it might be, I'm not spending time with my friends. I've acted like my friends invited me out this weekend and I said I can't go because I've got too much to do. It's like, do you really have too much to do? Or have you just decided you've got too much to do?
I think what's interesting as well is some people have a higher tolerance for elevated stress hormones like cortisol or adrenaline than the normal people or average person, you know, law of averages and all that BS.
What?
I don't know. I went to say bullshit and BS and they went BS. That was amazing. I can go in the remember when file.
We're inventing words today.
We are, yeah.
Park arc.
But I think it's also some people have a higher tolerance for stress hormones like cortisol and adrenaline, you know, than the average person, you know, law of averages and all that. The nervous system can adapt to that high alert state, making it the normal baseline. So when you take your foot off the gas, your body almost doesn't quite know what's happening because you've adapted to that new level of stress, and that's what normal is for you. So suppose as much as we are diving into the fact that it could be tied into identity and self-worth or fear of falling behind or emotional avoidance, whatever you want to call it, there could be very much a state of that's how someone finds their flow state, as we've said before. That's where someone actually gets into a very meditative state and feels very comfortable and safe. It might be that they are just simply wired for a slightly higher, or they have a slightly higher stress tolerance. So who are we to say what's right and wrong?
I think for those people, identifying the difference between stress and high activation.
What do you mean by that?
When I'm working as if I'm stressed, even if I'm not. That's my activation state. I need the pressure to get me going and make me feel like, oh yeah, I need to do this, I'm going to do that. And like, you're just on, you're in straight away. Like even me just doing that, like this, looking forward like this and just that angle, that's how I'm activated straight away. That's how I do it. And I'm thinking about all the things I've got to do. Like, what words am I going to say right now? Okay, cool. And now I'm thinking about it and I'm on. But stress is when there's some sort of actual external pressure. There's relationships involved. There's deadlines that need to be accomplished because there is going to be a significant punishment if you don't do it at that time.
Is stress always external?
No. Stress can be internally caused, but I would say the punishment for what, like, so I'm guessing you'd be stressed about not being able to accomplish something by a certain date.
Yes, you might have major deadlines. You might have work or school deadlines. You might have relationship difficulties, financial troubles that are all sort of external stresses. But the reason I ask is I definitely think there's an element of internal stresses, like unrealistic expectations is going to put a huge bit of stress on someone.
Yeah. And that's a good example, because what I was going to follow up and say is with internal stress, the punishment for failure is almost zero. Like, I have all these expectations for myself. I'm going to achieve all these things. And then you're working at it and you realize just how difficult that is. And like, you get stressed because of it. It's like, I need to get all this done. I need to get this done as well. I need to make sure my time is organized. Oh, now I should probably hire some extra staff as well. I need more staff on my team. Hang on a second. I haven't delegated all the work. Let's delegate it properly. Oh, wait, that person's ill this day. Cool, let's reassign. And you're getting really, really stressed. And then you realize that you're just trying to live up to an expectation that you had of yourself. And if you don't live up to that expectation, what's the worst thing that happens? Nothing. You're just you still. It was just your dream of what you could be that was the problem, not the actual things you were doing. Because you were doing everything right. It's just the filter it was going through was, this is going to stress me out.
Do you think there's people that don't experience stress? Just as a little side note. Do you envy those people?
I do, because it sounds lovely. But at the same time, I wouldn't want to hire people who don't get stressed.
So I was going to say similar. I agree. I think there probably is. And yeah, maybe there's a degree of envy. But I also would ask, what's it at the expense of? Not that they are choosing to have no stress at the expense of something else, but is that stress then leading to a life where they don't feel like they have, say, any drive, or maybe they don't take as many risks, you know, and that's probably not a conscious choice, but I'm just curious.
Yeah. Like if I hire somebody, I want them to be stressed. I want you to be working. I want you to fear what happens if you don't succeed.
That's what I like to hear, someone that's working with you so closely.
Yeah. You know that you've got to get a short done per day. If there's not a short going out, you're in trouble.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'm going to miss one time. I won't. I couldn't even make the joke. I can't because I want this to succeed. And how do we succeed?
Consistency.
Yeah.
Discipline.
That's what I've always been saying. You just never listen. What are you laughing for?
The punch that was about to come your way.
I don't think you'd be laughing while you threw that punch, but that's whatever.
You'd be like, sorry, Will, just had an itch.
Yeah. So there's a practice called the ghost test, which is imagine you've already succeeded and everyone else has already praised you. What work would you still do today? That is likely your true calling. Everything else is just a trauma response. So
that's crazy, but yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's an oversimplification, but I like it because it's giving you everything you've ever wanted, validating you for it, and it's okay, so what do you do now? That's likely what you're meant to be doing. I know you said it before, take some time off work. What do you do to fill your time? Likely what you should be doing.
Try and do nothing.
Yeah, see how hard doing nothing is.
Yeah.
Although there's some people that do legitimately find doing nothing easy. Unless you mean doing nothing is like no outside distractions, like no TV, no video games.
I just mean like, if you were to have no pressure, no plans for the next 2 weeks, just identify what you spend your time doing, because nobody can really do nothing. Like, nothing is sitting in a room staring at the wall. Like, no, you're going to watch Netflix, you're going to go on your phone, you're going to go to the gym, you're going to play tennis, you're going to play guitar, you're going to do something. What do you fill your time with? That's your calling.
I like that. So I suppose the idea is you want to get to a point where you can stop because you're tired, not because you feel like your work ethic is on the line.
Yep.
Which would be really nice, but
just learn to identify when your body is telling you to stop. Like yesterday, I didn't edit any podcasts. I said I might edit some podcasts. I didn't do it in the end.
How did you know that you weren't feeling ready for it?
I think it was just I don't know. I just know. I've pushed myself to the point where I'm at breaking point so many times that it's like I know I can do it.
You know the signals that your body emits when you are working too hard.
Yeah.
So that's something you would say people need to understand is what signals does your body scream at you before you listen. We said before, like first your body whispers and then it gets a little bit louder, 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 louder until eventually it's like, oh, you're shut down or you've got a disease or some sort of injury or whatever it might be.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we need to try and find ways to stop like the internal self-war. I feel like is a big overarching point on this episode, which is find the ways to stop the self-war. You can't fix your way into... You cannot fix your way into a life you love if the fixer hates the person they're fixing. Does that make sense? So it's leaning with love rather than hate. You've got to give yourself time and compassion to grow. You know, true discipline is a natural byproduct of feeling safe. When the nervous system is calm, the right actions become easy rather than demanding this extreme sense of workload and discipline to be able to get something done. You just need to create a place where you feel like you can be your most productive, safe self. And ambition powered by fear has a high toxic byproduct. Ambition powered by curiosity is sustainable. There's been so many good talking points throughout this one. I know it's been full on in the sense that it's been very personal development. It's tacked on why like self-improvement is quietly hostile to the self and almost how you have to lean into compassion when the industry itself can be very, not necessarily negative, but it's that you're not enough yet. You don't need more discipline, you need more safety. You know, understanding that could change so many people's life, but it's how do you cultivate that safety? And your work ethic might be unprocessed fear. There's so much to, strip through. But yeah, do you have any takeaways? Anything that you might recommend for people that have been listening and want just a clear, actionable point to go with?
I think I can try and help the person who's like me, where you work and you work and you work and you work, and then when you've finished work and you do some more work, and then you go to sleep and you wake up halfway through the night because you've thought of more work to do, and then you do more work. Like that person, it is truly worth identifying why you're working that hard and what things in your life are actually pushing you towards that. It might be a deep sense of you don't feel like you're enough. It might be that you're avoiding something. It might be that you genuinely are enjoying every second of it. But quite often, like if it's waking you up in the middle of the night, it's probably worth something like looking at. You need to identify what, because sleep across humans is important. There's no human that can live life without sleep. Therefore, you don't want it to be interrupted.
Nice. I suppose for me, I would just ask if people feel like their growth is being mistaken for self-pressure. You know? are you trying to integrate hostile self-improvement that teaches you to attack yourself rather than look with kindness and empathy? What's your word?
Buffalo.
Go Bills. I had mouse.
Oh, okay. We're getting semi-close.
No, we're not.
They were both animals.
We're picking random words out of the dictionary.
Yeah.
And hoping for the best.